Hello and welcome to another EDH deck tech video. Today I'm going to be showing a quick deck I put together for a small little tournament a group of friends and I did. I don't normally run Olivia as a general, but in the tournament there was basically whoever got the best wins got a bottle of Kraken rum, so I actually really wanted to win this, so I actually put something together just for it. Essentially, I took my Jessica Voltron deck and added black. So before I take this back apart and reform Jessica, I thought I'd go ahead and show essentially what my little formula of a Voltron deck would do if it was more than just mono red. So here we have Olivia. Usually when I do my formula, again, if you didn't see the other video, it's a 4 or less mana costing general with some kind of haste or evasion. And enough ramp and artifacts so that I can cast the general on turn 2 or 3 and then play and equip an equipment the following turn so that they're already beating face. I've done this with like Miri the Cursed. Another one's Exava. She's kind of fun too because she's a slightly bigger body. The better control one, although is here, is Olivia. So what she does, she is 4 mana, 2, a black, and a red for a 3/3 flying. She has 2 abilities that can be done at instant speed. One is a 1 in red. She does 1 damage to another creature. Then she gets a counter. And then that creature becomes a vampire. The last ability is I can pay 5, 3 in black, to gain control of a vampire as long as I control Olivia. So on her own, pretty obviously you'd think would be for control. I built the deck to be a Voltron because I wanted to beat face as fast as possible because I wanted that rum. So let's check this over here. Again, this is very similar to my Jessica deck. Jessica is very same where she is 4 mana for an aggressive creature with abilities. So the formula is that curve, very low curve, lots of creatures, 20 creatures and 20 equipments and about 10 artifacts, or about 8 to 10 artifacts to ramp out. So for the creatures, very similar to Jessica, we have some ramp. We have the Burnished Heart. I've been cutting Burnished out of a lot of my aggressive decks because he's not that fast, but for a 2-color deck, I fit him in here just for that game. Etched Champion, there's a massive amount of our equipment in here, so he was always pro. Phyrexian Crusader actually won me about 3 games out of the competition just because the infect was overwhelming. Prophetic Flamespeaker is fantastic with equipment. In my Jessica deck, I didn't put it in this one, I have Winding Canyons, which I've been playing with, because giving this guy Sword of Feast and Famine and untapping with a Winding Canyons mid-combat actually lets you just do a lot of nonsense. Blade Master still made it in there. Sad Robot still in there for the ramp. Then we have some of the black creatures. We have Miri the Curse, a fantastic creature. On her own as a general, she's very aggressive if you put a lot of equipment on her. Any chump blocks make her bigger, and of course if you are tutoring because you're in black, you can make her pro the opponent, so it's very hard to get rid of. Blazing Spectre is another hasty that just makes them discard. I'm always tempted to put more Spectres in Voltron style decks, but sometimes they're just so slow. The blue-black ones are really good. Blazing's pretty cool. I think that's my favorite one there actually, but they're just not as fast, and the haste on this one makes it worthwhile. Master of Cruelties, I wasn't actually going to main deck him. I wanted something a little bit faster, but at the same time I didn't know a lot of the decks of the people I was going up against, so I wanted some defense as well. He ended up being really good at trolling people. Essentially, a lot of people didn't realize what he was, or they thought that they had to leave up blockers, and he caused a lot of shenanigans. He only came out twice in both games that he came out. It just completely messed up the opponent's side. Of course, I'm playing Skittles. Skittles is fantastic, especially when my goal is to just win as fast as possible. So Hasty Dragon, regenerating, giving him equipment, all the good stuff. Drana is a fantastic general on her own. Again, something you would usually think to see in a control style deck because she can remove creatures and pump herself. Of course, giving her equipment and protection is even better. Blood Gift Demon is something that mono red decks sorely miss is card advantages. So the Phyrexian Arena on a flying creature. Tarny made it back in the deck. He's always in the deck. He's just fantastic. Storm Breath and Thundermaw, my favorite little 5-drops because they just haste out and smash somebody. Worm Coil is always there for advantage, and duplicates are spot removal. We still run Godo. I didn't want to put the Runescar Demon here because 7 mana was a little bit much for something that did not put it directly into play. I'd rather be able to equip it and haste out next turn. Godo puts the equipment right into play for me there. And I was in between running the Titans and the Dragons here for the final 2 main beaters of the deck. The Titans, like the Inferno Titan, is fantastic for spot removal, and Grave Titan's great for building up a board. But for what this deck wants to do is hastily and quickly beat face. Inferno Titan's usually pretty good, but I wanted more flyers, and that gave me a bit more of a control element. I have the Whip of Erebos in here to get back one of them for 1 round after, even though they go into exile afterward, but still the flyers ended up being a much better choice, I think. During the games, the matches, I didn't really need or feel the need for a Titan at any point. Going on to the equipment, this is a very slight variation to what is in the Jessica deck. Jessica has a few Death Touch tricks. Death Touch is great on Olivia, but at the same time, I didn't have a whole bunch of other stuff, so some of these are changed out. I wanted to get the Blade of the Bloodchief because she is vampire, and mounting the counters would be great. I didn't get one in time for the actual game, so I never got one to fit in here, and I don't like running proxies, but Onaginata is great for any creature that has 3 or more power. Give him trample and a big boost. Basilisk Collar in Olivia is what you would expect to see in an Olivia deck, just to make her 2 mana to spot remove something. Godo's Maul is still in the deck just because it gives our general +3. Champion's Helm, I always do like the protection on this. I usually don't... Boots are great. Giving something haste and protection is fantastic, but I want to kill them as fast as possible, so I prefer something that has a plus mode on it. Also, this is not foil, which kind of sucks. Livewire Lash was the placeholder for the Blade of the Bloodchief. I mean, it's a clever equipment. It's a possible free shock when the opponent goes to remove something. It could be a lot better, though. Same thing with Blight Sickle. That was another placeholder for another equipment. I can't quite recall what it was right now. It made its way in the deck still because I can wither things off with her. That never came up. Every time I see this, I just wish it was something else. This is something that should not have been in main cut of the deck. I just didn't have anything else, I think, at the time. Fire Shrieker, giving anything double strike is fantastic. A bit more protection. This one's usually a little bit overcosted, but it still does its job. If you recall from my Jessica deck, that special curve where I consider my equipment to be a converted mana cost of both the casting cost and equipment. For example, this is 3 to cast, 2 to equip, 2 to cast, 3 to equip. I consider that 5 converted mana cost. So these gear, I can cast her, assuming no ramp on turn 4. Then the following turn I can cast and equip something onto her. Same thing with Darksteel Plate, gives her indestructible. Giving her indestructible usually just made it impossible for the opponent to deal with her, because I almost always had to tutor up to get the pro of whatever the removal was. I got this out twice, and both times it just brought me to the end of the game. Inquisitor's Flail still in there. I don't have first strike on her, but doubling the damage means I can shock things. But it's also just a great damage doubler in general. Jete still made it in there. It's a really powerful card, and even though I gripe about it all the time. I still have a playset of swords. And then we're going on to the last bit of equipment. These are all out of range now of the converted mana cost thing that I do. So this Sword of Vengeance gives her first strike and a lot of abilities, which is really fantastic, which a lot of people think it's just not really worth the cut, but for all those modes in an aggressive deck where I want to both beat face but also survive, that Vigilance kind of helps. Also above that 5 mana curve is our Hammer. Gives us some trample also to get through. And these two are our heavyweight ones, something that we will use, hopefully, Godo for to go fetch and directly put into play. Again, I'm always on between Argentum Armor, but it actually served me really well during the games. I was able to get rid of quite a few actual problem situations. By Declare, I was able to get rid of a Maze of Ith and someone's Mirari's Wake and whatnot. Things I just can't normally deal with. Unlike my red deck, my Jessica deck, I need to probably upload the video again because I've taken the shenanigans with Possibility Storm out and put my burn back in, but I actually have a really good spell complement in here. I'm obviously running black, so I want a tutor for the sword that will help me kill you. I don't have Mind Twist in here, but I did fit Rakdos Return. Mind Twist usually gives me a lot of moans and groans. Even though I was wanting to win, I didn't want to have to put up that kind of situation. So Rakdos Return still made it in there. Just really fantastic any time of game. 1v1 if you cast this, like if you ramp out on turn 2 and you have 2 mana floating, this is still like a Mind Rot and a Shock to the Face on turn 3. Although I would much rather wait till I can just burn out their hand. And we have lots of good removal here now that we have. In my mono red deck, I usually run the burn spells that exile things when they die. But I have straight good removal here. The Dreadbore here is down for Planeswalkers creatures. Dismember is my favorite one because people just don't expect it. And then we have some global wipes, the Damnation and the Decree. Not a whole bunch of wipes in here. Well, and all is dust. Normally when I play black, I just want all the wipes possible, but I am trying to keep my own creatures alive at the same time. Come on. Savage Beating is usually a game-ending card if played at the appropriate time. Just a possible double strike or double combat phase, or both. So if I have 1 or 2 aggressive creatures out, or 2 equipped creatures, or even 1, it usually just ends the games. And then we're on to the ramp package. We have a lot of these are the 2 1-drops. Again, I didn't put my Mana Crypt or Mana Vaults in the deck because the play group I was going up against, I was only told about kind of what value their decks were, and I was told also that they hate blowout early ramps with Soul Rings, whatnot, so I didn't want to include those. Even though my goals wasn't trying to win, I was just trying to be nice to the new kids. Then we have the 2-drop rocks. The Mind Stone is great for replacing itself. Cold Steel Heart. The guys are actually pretty good for multicolor decks. I can't include Jessica. And the diamonds, of course. And then last few bits of techie artifact junk. Torpor Orb, of course, this came out. I had to directly tutor for this in one game just to deal with someone's whatever that green-white enchantment is that dicks over my deck. Just really slows down a whole bunch of stuff. The Memorial is, of course, there to help me get my little beaters through and give an extra bit of protection. This was also something that almost did not make the cut because of the mana cost on it. I was thinking about putting just another spot removal or something in there, just to get rid of it, like the a tragic misstep or something like that. Then we have Whip of Erebos to give us some lifelink. More likely I was using this to recur creatures just for some benefit. And it actually did quite a good job there. Something like this, it just, whenever I'm in a tough spot or I need to get something back, it helps a lot. And Phyrexian Arena is another good card draw. And our last enchantment is a Gratuitous Violence to again give my stuff double strike, or double damage, not double strike. That's a lot of stuff that when I was playing this, I just really wished I had some of that tech in mono red for Jessica. But I mean, that's kind of the point of having an extra color in your deck, I suppose. Finally, we're on to the lands. I still have the Ancient Tomb and an Ink Moth. The black also gave me access to a few other techie lands. We got the Bajuka Bog. I borrowed the land from my Bladewing deck to this one, so all my double lands are actually the lands from my Bladewing deck. So you've probably seen these before. These are just good 2-color lands, help me get my mana color, or my fix on. And then the rest of them are these Kamigawa Island, or swamps and mountains there. But there was 8 different people I went up against. It was a really long night. It was just a whole bunch of friendly kids. And it was just this little fun little club get-together thing in Morgantown. It's like an hour and a half away. I only lost 1 game against a permission style deck. Matchup, I guess. I lost 2 games total. Like, the permission guy just raffle stopped me because he basically, both games he turned 1 Leyline of Anticipation, or turn 0 leylined it. So I didn't really have a whole bunch to do that game. The only other deck I lost against was a Dorn deck, where it was a hyper aggressive Dorn deck, and I just couldn't. My deck just wasn't fast enough. In aggro, you can beat my deck because most aggro decks have lots of 1 and 2 mana costing creatures. My deck is more, not quite mid-range, but a little, I guess you would call it late aggro for the style I play it. But I mean, the other decks, like there was a Shroom deck, there's so many different opponents that I went up against. I don't recall exactly all the massive plays, but the one Dorn, we had to go to game 3 because I won 1, he won 1, then I won the last one. But then the control guy was playing a zombie, of course, and he got both games. But every other game I won, so I got me a nice fancy bottle of rum. And so I thank Olivia for that. She's going to go right back into my Mogus sideboard and not be played for a while, and I'm going to retake this apart back for Jessica. I kind of did feel like I was cheating because while I love my Jessica deck the most as a Voltron style, I always felt like when I was playing this, I just felt like I was cheating on her because I'm adding another color to make the deck infinitely better. But at the same time, my goal was to win. I just didn't want to troll around. I could have brought Jessica. I'm sure I would have done well. Not nearly as well as this deck did for me. But yeah, again, this is the exact same formula as the Jessica. 4 mana costing general. Some kind of aggressive or haste attribute or flying or some evasion, something. Then 20 other creatures, 20 artifacts, about 8 ramping, 1 or 2 drops. I always suggest if you can get them out on turn 2, then it might be worth running Dark Ritual or Mana Vault or Mana Crypt. But you need to make sure you can stabilize afterward and you actually have something to do with the creature or the general at that point. Yeah, that's Olivia. I had fun with her. I'm going to dismantle it and probably go get shit-faced now.